sitting and contemplating yesterday, we chatted about THC, and Jen raised a concern that I had a couple of years ago where, I was really struggling to sleep at one stage, and Jen bought me one of these monitors that monitors your sleep, and I wore it on my wrist, and I was only getting about 18 minutes of sleep. So we decided to try THC, and my goodness, we've been using THC for a number of years now. And the concern that Jen raised was, have we become dependent on THC for sleep? And I did. I contemplated that a couple of years ago, and here's kind of what we came up with. Bottom line is, yes, what the THC did was it created the right conditions within my body to help me to kind of get back to normal patterns of sleep. But then, of course, there's the other side where people go, well, have you become dependent on it? And is it causing you harm, etc.? And, as my understanding of how everything sort of comes together works, this is how I understand it, is it's not the substance that is the problem. In other words, THC can either be something that is healing and therapeutic and something that you utilize to support your body to create the right conditions for sleep, or for removing inflammation, or helping with mental disorders if you're suffering from depression or whatever it is. So what it is it's an amazing herb that supports your body to create the right conditions. Or you could view it the other way, and you could say it's a gateway drug and it's a terrible substance and it's bad for you. Well, think about what's actually gone down. Is all that really happens for us here in this realm of duality is we have experiences. How we interpret those experiences is how our emotions or our feelings, how we feel about something, is what creates both a chemical response, a hormonal response, and it also creates a response from the emotion. In other words, the energy in motion, the feeling creates a gateway, an engagement, a way that we communicate with the quantum field. So think about it. If you're looking at it negatively and you've seen it from a place of fear and anxiety and anguish, well, that's the emotive state that you're going to be in. That's the state of consciousness that you're going to project into the quantum field. Whereas if you look at exactly the same event, you look at it from a different perspective, or should we rather say a positive, therapeutic, developmental perspective, which I truly, at a deep-rooted consciousness level, believe, well, then what's going to happen is you're going to see it from a position of healing and therapy and something that is contributing to your health. In other words, that is going to elicit a completely different feeling, a completely different emotive response. And it's the emotive response that matters. In other words, it's not the event, but it's rather how we choose to interpret the event that creates an emotive response. So think about two little boys on a roller coaster ride. One loves being out of control. The other one is very sensitive and doesn't love to be out of control. One event happens. You can imagine once that event is over, one little boy's going to jump up and down wanting to do it again, and the other one's going to run crying into his mommy's arms. One event. And so that's what it's about, is all that really happens in our life, and this is the real message that Jen and I want you to take away, is all that ever happens in our life is events. We give them meaning. And whichever meaning we choose to give that event, that is what engages with the quantum field. That, in other words, our feelings, our emotions, our state of consciousness is how we engage and communicate with the quantum field. And then the quantum field in turn then mirrors the same back to us. So if you choose to view an event from a negative perspective, well, negative life experience is going to be mirrored to you. But if you choose to view the same event from a positive standpoint. In other words, from a very, what we would perceive as a positive state of consciousness, unconditional love, gratitude, joy, passion, that is going to mirror a very different life experience, a kind of life experience that you want to be living. So it's not about the event, but rather how we choose to interpret or respond to each event that really, really matters.